I'm thankful for your patience for the technical delay. We'll start the session in a few moments. So as said by the technical team, it is good to go. So Team AI Neo, your time starts now.
Hello, I am Anmol Agrawal from Team AI Neo. Our team has 6 members: Rafsan, Washik, Jonathan, Abdirahman, Azamat, and me. The scenario that we have been presented with is of Aero, a highly advanced economy which is driven primarily by productivity as a direct result of artificial intelligence implementation. We have seen in the scenario that it is so efficient, thousands of times more so than humans, that 95% of the country's population is essentially unemployed and lives solely off of this cheap and available productivity. This has come at a cost, however, and has resulted in the stratification of the society into two major classes: the working class and the non working class. Our goal uh, is motivated by the tagline "Make Humans Great Again," uh, which is motivated by the value uh, that we have to be inclusive of all humans, regardless of social class, and extract every individual's potential, whether they belong to the working class or the non working class. So, we have made our policies such that they aim to address this problem by simultaneously implementing two strategies, namely immediate response and long term response. The immediate response aims to alleviate the problems caused by the rapid development of artificial intelligence and slow down the effects by utilizing policies aimed at solving. First, by finding the definition of humans. Uh, Second, diversifying the education system so that students are not pressurized to take the title examination and instead are motivated to go for opportunities that they want to pursue by themselves. Second is the long term response. Uh, this one aims to change the direction of Aeroc, which it is currently on, and form a link between the current scenario and a realistic, sustainable model that would be based on the idea of human and AI integration. If we were to focus our efforts in this direction, then it would lead to increased understanding of how humans and artificial intelligence could be combined to what we have termed as an intelligent being. Our first policy is a special occupation division, which is meaning of humans. We have addressed this issue by highlighting that there is a lack of labor diversity because most of the jobs cater to artificial intelligence researchers or the management team directly related to these fields. So our aim is to diversify this job market and find ways which distinguishes humans from artificial intelligence. Our implementation would be based off of uh, introducing new optional subjects which would focus on areas and finding them uh, which distinguishes us from AI. And second, we would incentivize students to take up these fields by offering some opportunities of international travel or cultural experience. We expect that this policy would help us understand how humans can how the untapped potential of humans could be extracted, especially from the non-working population, which has been distinguished from the working population in the sense that the working population is a separate elite group which caters to itself. So by implementing this policy, we would extract the potential of the non-working population equally as we have already extracted the potential of the working population through the means of AI. We have we have took a binary approach to this issue. So if artificial intelligence has helped the working population tackle the problems of Aero, then we would implement human based values with the non working population in order to find their potential uh, and create a more sustainable model in that way. Our second policy is to consider Aero not as an individual country but a country in the context of a global world. Due to rapid advancement in artificial intelligence and change in the structure of society, AROC has especially found problems which are distinct and AI related. To solve these problems, which can be termed as post AI problems, because the problems have been uh, found because of the direct implementation of artificial intelligence technologies. So uh, our second purpose is to collaborate with other countries. So we can introduce something termed as international AI license that would enable other countries to access parts of Aerox AI technologies, but we would implement a condition so that upon implementation of such strategies, they would have to share all the statistics and the information that they have gathered by implementing that technology and share it with Aero. This would result, uh, sorry, yeah, in gathering statistics, which would help Aero counter its own problems by using uh, the gathered information from the implementation. Uh, Since Aruc is a country that has been highly developed with the use of artificial intelligence, it is safe to assume that there would be much less developed countries than Aruc that surround it, and they could use this opportunity to use the artificial intelligence technology borrowed from Aruc and trade it with the information that they have gathered by implementing it and improve the livelihood of their own residents. This would not only benefit Aruc but also other countries as well. And when we consider Aruc in the international context, it helps to make a more sustainable model that would not only be beneficial for Aruc but also the surrounding countries, which would give them an edge and cultivate a more competitive environment among the countries. Our third policy aims to decentralize economic output. Uh, and we have implemented this policy to combat the extreme dependence of economic output on solely AI, because considering that AI powers 95% of the uh, salaries of the non-working population, if there would be encountered a critical bug or any failure, then that would directly result in the compromise of the livelihood of 95% of the working population. So we would have to diversify the job market, or you can say the economic activity of the country, to add new sectors which contribute to the overall economy and stabilize the country in the case of such an AI failure. We would implement this by first we can outsource that this work by directly employing people in other countries with regards to fields such as culture and history, and we can employ them on a contract basis. Second, we could employ human workers as opposed to solely employing artificial intelligence in occupations that require direct human to human interactions. uh, these jobs can be counseling, daycare, old age homes, uh, or psychiatrists, anything that require intimate relation between a human, because even in Aeroc, although the raw productivity might have been increased by artificial intelligence, uh, the emotional value and psychological factor associated with being a human cannot yet be replaced, and hence we would like to have human workers in those fields.
The fourth policy that we would like to talk about is called the Pursuit of Knowledge, or abbreviated as POK. So, the POK is directed towards introducing a feeling of true learning, and it influences a scheme of optional learning so that people can chase their interests and can contribute towards their society. So, what exactly are we seeing in the POK? So, as we've seen in the scenario, many people are either dropping out of school or considering the title examination itself, there's a very high failure rate for that exam. So, we see a very large non working population. However, within that non-working population, there might be some smart intellectual individuals who still want to pursue education but cannot, but are deprived from that chance due to their failure in this very strict and rigorous educational curriculum. So by the POK, we're going to see an optional free and open highway for people to chase whatever they desire. So to facilitate this, we're going to see increased numbers of libraries and archives so that people can have more access to information and research about whatever they want, even in topics or subjects that are now deemed, let's say, unimportant due to the presence of AI, such as history, for example. And the second thing that we'd like to introduce is called the Information Exchange Forum. It's going to be a governmental organization, and the IEF is going to basically co- cater to the more professional or the more serious people who are enrolling in the POK, who actually want to promote the expansion of society. So what the IEF is going to do, it's going to look into research proposals presented by non-working individuals, and what they're going to do, they're going to analyze it holistically, and should it be an interesting research topic or something that's beneficial, they're going to provide all the necessary funds and resources for such a research. And it's going to, after the research is concluded, the conclusions must be transferred by the IEF to the government so that such results could be implemented in the society. And the IEF will have a special division called the Humans AI Relations Department, which will be called HARD for short. So HARD will basically be entirely dedicated towards receiving comments and research of the non-working population about human AI relationships. For example, the flaws of AI or why humans should be prioritized over AI. So these comments and researches accumulated by HARD will act to support the special occupations division of the meanings of human. So by the implementation of the POK, what we're going to see is going to be a general increase of worth within the non-working population, and there's going to be an increased exchange of information, which is going to facilitate the expansion of AROC's numerous frontiers, for example, the intellectual, social, and other scientific frontiers where we could consider. However, basically, due to the optional nature of POK, we have to not many people might be attracted towards it, but we could facilitate this information exchange by providing incentives, so that such as through the funds and prizes that are given for participation and active achievements in the POK session. After POK, we're going to discuss our fifth policy, which is the OP units grouping system. OP units, which could be abbreviated to OU. So basically, OUs are attracted towards systematically grouping people so that people could be organized and increased cooperational skills could be seen. So basically, in order to make an OU, we're going to see increased what we're going to do is, at an early level of education, we're going to categorize people according to similar personality tests, and based on that we'll make them into groups of 5, and the entire education and economical sectors will be geared towards OUs instead of individuals. We're going to see OUs passing exams, OUs doing tasks instead of individuals passing exams. So what's going to happen with this is that we're going to see a 5 times increase in the number of people who pass title, although the number of OUs which are operational is still going to be the same. Similarly, we're going to see that because the number of OUs will be same, the job market would still be saturated, yes, but we're going to see an increase in the number of working people. And due to the increase of working people, we're going to see ease in the social life of the workers, as one person can work on each work day and they could exchange, time to time. So although instead of an individual working 5 times a day, it's going to be an OU working 5 times a day, but each individual is actually working once. So that actually increases efficiency, but it also increases the size of the working population and increases worth in the society. And considering the next policy, it's going to be about integration of natural intelligence and artificial intelligence.
In this policy, the integration of natural intelligence and artificial intelligence, we are considering integrating the benefits of artificial intelligence with the ingenuity of humans. We have seen that in current scenario, AI is functioning mutually independently of humans, and due to that, there is a communication divide between humans and artificial intelligence. By integrating humans and AI directly, we would remove this gap, which would help enable. Uh,
Apologies for interrupting Team AI Neo, but your time has exhausted. So you have 30 seconds to wrap it up.
uh, so the rest of our policies can be summarized uh, in the direction that we have to push. Our proposal is that uh, we want to integrate humans and artificial intelligence. Why we want to do that is because uh, humans by themselves have to use artificial intelligence as a tool in the current society, uh, and instead of that we would want to use the idea of a backup portal which would help upload the intelligence of humans to a centralized systems which would store the intelligence,
Thank
or
you,
you can.
Team AI Neo. We would like to hear more about this during the discussion section, during when you bring up the Q&As. And now we move on to the next presentation from Team Okai. So whenever you're ready.
May I start now?
Yes, please.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is honor of us to be here with you to join the conference. I'm Sungwanok from Team OK, and I'll be giving the presentation addressing the issue of education, economics, and AI. In the given scenario, ERA is highly developed in the aspect of AI, but we have discovered a number of serious problems. To resolve these problems, we have come up with several new policies and products, and as a result, this will create our new ideal country, the new era. The basic ideology of the new era corresponds with 사인여천. This means to serve people like heaven. In Iraq, there seems to be an extreme polarization in the class. Moreover, AI is in charge of almost all of the production activities. No industries other than AI industry is emphasized. The diversity is gone long ago in this country, and of course, human dignity is very at the risk. Therefore, by promoting equality, acknowledging diversity, and protecting human dignity, we strongly believe that a society can become a real utopia. Iraq now needs new innovative policies to become a better society. Policies are divided into 6 categories. Through these policies, we hope to solve existing social problems in Iraq. First, tax policy should be strengthened to address the polarization that is prevalent in Iraq. At the same time, the basic income system is continuously implemented and progressive taxes are applied to increase taxes from high income earners. Using the funds gained from this, we'll be able to implement a variety of policies and products. In addition, unearned income taxes are applied to curb the phenomenon of the rich and poor and provide a bridge to class movement. Regarding the issue of title, the admission quota of AI educational institutions should be greatly expanded. The current systems excessively increase the competition rate of title test, overheat private education, and make it even more difficult to move between classes due to narrow doors between status. If the number of AI institutions is increased, the competition rate for title exams can be lowered. So the overheated private education can also be lowered. Not only that, evaluation elements of the title test, The evaluation criteria within the AI educational institutions can also select true developers, which can foster more competitive developers. At the same time, the government has to set a rule that requires half of the successful candidates to be selected within the lower 50% class. In Iraq, the social mobility is becoming very difficult, and the path to social integration is becoming distant. And the problem of self-realization of the middle class is intensifying. Ironically, the only way to become a high-ranking official in the future society of Iraq is to have AI-related jobs. So the government should provide a way for the middle class to be reborn as high-income class. In addition, care should be taken to ensure that the title test is not a test to select only AI developers, but a test that can be used as an evaluation data for all occupations. As most of OK's other policies seek to foster new industrial sectors, titles should be a credible test for other professionals. In order to do so, titles Field 3 and Field 4 need to be more focused. This could help narrow the gap between jobs, as most of them would require taking the title exam to choose from. Compulsory education and lifelong education are essential to develop the ability of people to have economic power in a future society where the total amount of information and knowledge is increasing. Therefore, courses up to high school should be designated as compulsory education, and the title test related to the before slide should be reorganized to reflect them thoroughly. Also, reinforcing our public education quality is needed. Giving professional after-school programs such as machine learning programs is a way. Abolition of preparatory school can also be a policy. As a result, we hope to create an equal society where all people in Iraq is given the equal right to take the education they need, and no student is left out of the education system due to financial or other issues. After 50 years, humans will have longer lifespan. People live in a fast-changing society, and we have so much time to do whatever we want. There is need for people to study during their whole lifetime. Therefore, lifelong education system is necessary. Proper education should be given considering the age of each people, and life respect education and humanities should also be emphasized in this AI-focused society to achieve factors like diversity and human dignity. Furthermore, because Iraq is a country which industry focuses on AI technology, it needs to diversify its industry structure. Therefore, developing not only AI but also other areas will be a good way to improve Iraq's society. And the most ideal way would be to carry this out under government control, such as implementing licenses. In current Iraq society, people working in the AI industry tend to look down on other people, causing polarization. Thus, making an appropriate cognition among the society will be necessary. This can be done using media. PSA is a kind of advertisement which coincides with public interest. Nowadays, the media have an enormous power and advertisements can have an enormous impact on us unconsciously. The government must provide advertisements which emphasize the message that every job is important, so that people cannot compare each other's value. It is very crucial to make people believe that all jobs and working industry are all superb, so that importance of doing what they really want, not only pursuing career in AI, can be established in the social atmosphere. This can eventually lead to narrowing the gap between classes and diversifying the industry structure of Iraq. Iraq's economy is so dependent on the AI industry that if the AI industry is weakened by unpredictable events, it will deal a fatal blow to the country's economy. Also, excessive competition is caused because only small portion of the population can work in AI-related industries. Therefore, efforts should be made to develop various industries under constant watch of the government. First, the government should establish large-scale research facilities to pave the way for new industrial development. It is necessary to stretch out Iraq's potential in various fields. Researchers from various majors will be hired on a large scale, related research will be actively conducted, and the pie in the economy will grow as it is applied to new products and services. Secondly, we need to create a system that systematically supports startups. It is necessary not only to pay initial subsidies, but also to help in related jobs receive mentoring and to help them work with various people. Products using AI overwhelm products made by hiring people. Naturally, by market principles, people choose cheaper products, which are products made using AI, if they are of similar quality. However, human economic activities involve not only supply and demand, price and utility, but also individual psychology and social culture. Considering this fact, the government should systematically support the branching of products and services of small business owners and self-employed people. Secondly, among companies that do not borrow AI technology, those deemed to be human heritage should be selected as human cultural assets or craftsmen and supported. Finally, a new consumption culture that calls for consumption of man-made things should be promoted by gathering individual brands, human cultural assets, and artisans, and events like fairs should be held for these people. Considering the policies, we came up with three products to overcome the crises that the country of Iraq currently faces. The first product that we came up with is the 2071 job fair. This will provide people of Iraq more opportunities to experience jobs that exist in the world of 2071. Students can experience AI-related jobs here or other fields such as agricultural industries and entertainment industries. By providing and instilling dreams to students through this job fair, the final goal of this product is to help them break down and escape from the perception that they simply need to have AI-related jobs to succeed in life. They will realize that they can have and do so much more than AI and pursue various careers as they grow up. This fair offers opportunities for not only students but also adults. Because AI is highly developed and used in most industries, even if they may be working in the field that doesn't require much AI technology, it is essential for them to know what AI is and how it is used in other industries. It is also very important for people working in the field of AI to acquire relevant knowledge and know how their technology is being used in other industries. This job fair can provide non-AI workers and AI workers what they must know in this 2071 society. Second product is PSA for industrial diversification policies. Iraq in 2071 continues to be gloomy in terms of industry, with more than half of the people not having their own jobs, as well as the over-focused industrial distribution of AI. To solve these problems, Iraq government has put forward various diversification policies and has produced PSAs to deliver messages that support them. Through various media, PSA give a message to the people so that they can take on new jobs or new challenges. Through this, Iraq will finally be able to create a variety of industrial markets. The slogan of the government's PSA is a colorful challenge that shines even among AI. To effectively deliver this message, Iraq have produced poster and are known to produce installation art for easy access in public places. It is hard to expect a dramatic effect, but a small number of perception changes will gradually bring new changes to the Iraq's industrial market. The third product is AI robot customizing service. This product is developed by the government in order to fully support people enjoy their jobs and hobbies. The way to receive customized AI robot is very simple. All you need to do is to fill out an application form on Arco's website. Information like basic personal information, your current job, the reason for needing this robot, future plan of usage are required. Then the application is reviewed by Arco, and if there is no special reason for disqualification, the created robot will be delivered to the requested destination. Since the service is offered at a very low price, anyone with passion can easily achieve their dream with the help of robot. The usage of the delivered robot is regularly checked by monitoring staffs once a month. It allows individuals to extend the expiration date of the robot and get AS service if necessary. In this way, Arco actively supports the public to enjoy their affluent life utilizing AI robots. Also, since it has become easier for people to reach AI technology, we hope to solve the polarization issue of Iraq society. Previously, Iraq has reached an irreversible level of layer polarization, and AI-oriented industrial distribution. As each of the problems interlocked, it led to a vicious cycle. Thus, the introduction of some extreme policies was inevitable. Policies such as introduction of wealth tax and reorganization of title may be considered unsatisfactory to some of the upper classes, but they were essential changes for Arab's long-term growth. By the reorganization of title, more talents are now effectively recruited from each university. So students who had not been able to break the 5% wall are now given the opportunity to realize their dreams. In addition, Iraq had made the biggest efforts to diversify industries. This have enabled the country to expand their options in the industry market. This will result in positive changes in the AI industry as well as in other industries. All of the Arab's industries are now expected to maintain symbiotic relationships with each other and develop rapidly. The old Iraq was like an AI powerhouse, which was only good to live superficially. However, through this change, Iraq has reborn as an ideal society by achieving equality, diversity, and human dignity. Thank you.
Thank you, Team Okai and Team AI Neo, for presenting your creative ideas for the solution. We will now move to a discussion section where both the teams will be given 10 minutes to prepare for the Q&A. We would request all of the teams to kindly join the session at least 2 minutes before the Q&A starts. You'll now be sent into your breakout rooms. Welcome back to Pioneers 2071, questioning the next 50 years. The current scenario focuses on the challenge of education, economics, and AI. We have had two amazing teams present their proposals on how they will effectively tackle and resolve the issue and challenges faced by AROC in 2071. During the Q&A session, I would encourage all of the participants to actively take part and ask critical questions, but bearing in mind to maintain decorum. The purpose of today's debate, rather discussion, is not to discredit each other or undue criticism, but to have a constructive session to look for ways to address the global issues that we will face in the year 2071. Again, reminding the teams to kindly write Q in the chat so that I can give you the right to speak when you guys answer a question. Now, before opening the floor for questions from the participants and the professors, I would like to begin the Q&A session by asking a question to Team AI Neo. Okay, uh, Team AI Neo, could you elaborate a bit on Policy 5 and Policy 6? And do you think forming OUs is an appropriate solution to tackle the unemployment problem?
In policy 5, we're basically, so in the OU system, what we're essentially doing is we're going to group people into five groups, right? Five people, right? By this way, what we're doing is we're essentially facilitating a cooperative approach towards education and learning. So it's both it's considers the interests of human traits as well as economic benefits. Now, I will elaborate a bit on why it's economically beneficial to have an OU. So, first of all, an OU is going to contain like-minded people within a group. So they're going to think the same way. So by that way, we're going to see a constructive buildup of ideas when, suppose you're working alone in a post. When you're doing that, you're not necessarily having all the possible potential ideas for that problem or that question coming to your mind. With similar minded people thinking about different things, you're going to accumulate your ideas and create something more creative. Furthermore, there's going to be less chance of getting creating a mistake or a critical error within solving such problems. And considering, for example, in the economic sector, um, we're going to see we basically see that the market is not a stable thing. It fluctuates a lot. There's an increase, sometimes there's an increase in demand, sometimes there are lax periods. So what we're essentially going to see is the OU is going to give you flexibility. So if we have five people in a OU, and if suppose a post is not held by an individual but by an OU now, we can increase or decrease the number of people working the workforce or the intellect behind a question as per the demand. If, for example, it's a regular work day, one person can go to office for every work day instead of going the whole week. Similarly, if suppose, for example, there's a sudden demand or a very imminent deadline, or your essential workforce can increase by a factor of 5. So at most a factor of 5. So that is actually really effective when you're considering flexibility in the job market. And one more thing to consider about OUs is that um, people might argue that if you're having five people working on the same thing, it's going to be very hard to actually collaborate, right? But we have also created an innovative idea called the OU MICE, which is also which opens up to operating unit managing AI system. So what this is assuming that this technology has reached that level, we have based the OMIs on a quantum mesh network with encryption. So it's going to give real-time analysis and observation of each individual's operations on any day, on any given time. And when you're, for example, if you're working on a project at the very same time,
Thank
what
you,
is going
AI
to do?
Neo. Your time has expired. You had
Okay.
3 minutes to answer the question. But I would just like to point out again that the question was, how will you create the number of jobs? Because the number of jobs are fixed, and you're putting 5 people to do one job. So I agree that the stress from the working class will decrease, but how do you increase the number of jobs?
Well, the number of jobs is not actually addressed by policy number five. It's more addressed by other factors that we've considered. For example, interaction of Iraq with other countries, and when we're considering the AI license or the considering work new jobs, for example, in the IEF or the hard, we're creating new organizations to support all new economic ventures. And so these are providing new posts for people as well. And one more thing I'd like to mention is our policy on amputated AI is also going to increase the number of jobs as well, because yeah, I'll basically describe amputated AI in very short terms. Amputated AI is basically, instead of AI working on every single process of a single task, what it's going to do, it's going to give you suggestions, or it's going to guide you, while you are a human, a real human is going to physically do that task. So that's also going to open up new labor markets for the non-working population as well.
Thank you for the answer. Now, moving on, I have a question for Team Okai. So, in your educational policies, there is a point on ensuring equal opportunities. So, half of the students who are really good, bright minds, they pass the title and you put them in the lower class. So, could you elaborate on them? I'm confused how this actually works. Like, you're taking effective people and putting them into the lower class, and then the 5% that the companies will hire, the number is the same, right? So how does this solve that problem? Any one of you can choose to answer.
Um, could you clarify the question again?
Okay, so in your educational policy, ensuring equal opportunities, half of the title passers go to the lower class. Is this an effective way to use
Can
the
I
population that
answer?
you have?
Can I answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I think maybe there was misunderstanding of our policy. We didn't mean that 50% of the people go into the lower class, but we meant that half of the people are selected from the higher classes, and the last 50% of people are selected from the lower classes. This, if there are no policies like this, we thought that there might be a problem that only the people or the son or daughters of the parents of higher class can keep receiving some advantages. So we made this policy in order to give the people of the lower classes enter the higher classes. Did this answer your question?
Thank you for clarifying. The statement was a bit confounding.
May I answer just a little bit more to that?
You have time, so you can continue.
As said in the presentation, EROC is marking at the end of a polarization society. So, of course, there might be some opposition from upper classes about this policy, but however, creating a ladder for the lower class to climb up to the higher class is essential in our opinion. So that's the reason why we implemented this policy. And yes, that's the purpose of our education policy. Thank you.
Just a short follow-up question. Is allocating 50% of quota a good number? Because there's not that many people in the higher class.
May I answer the question?
Sure, thank you.
Oh, yeah, we meant the 50% means 50% of the students who enter to the AI educational uh, schools or things like that. So it doesn't mean that 50% is the 50% of the higher class.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions from the professor at this point?
Okay, can I start?
Yes, professor.
This probably applies to both teams. The AROC reached current status probably because relying on AI is more efficient, right? It pays more, therefore everyone wants to do that. And your policies, although it is based on sort of general theme of this conference, within AROC, in this virtual reality, you are all trying to move organizations away from using AI. You either want to actively amputate the AI, or you want to put more heavier focus on non-AI jobs, or in some sense you want to sell customized robots, therefore sort of distribute the impact of AI/robots. So what's your incentives? Will people sort of willingly move away from AI, or is this something that can be only done at the policy level, or do we need more higher level ideological change? Why do you think people will follow? Because if you continue to use AI, you can make more money.
Shall I answer this one?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for the question, professor.
Okay, so in our policies, instead of completely replacing or undermining the value of artificial intelligence, we have tried to move it into the direction of integration. So our long-term goal is to integrate humans and AI. So while the raw productivity of artificial intelligence is unclassed as compared to humans, and as you mentioned, that is the primary reason why they have replaced human jobs. So instead of actively pushing humans back into the workforce without any incentive or reasoning to do so, we would like to extract the ingenuity or creativity of humans and cultivate those independent aspects which are not which cannot be accessed by artificial intelligence due to inherent differences between the two, and combine those two values to create a single intelligent being. And we would like to connect both of them by facilitating information using our innovative idea, the backup portal. So we would upload the collective knowledge of humans into a server, which could then be processed with artificial intelligence and used in conjunction with artificial intelligence. So uh, the given scenario was humans and AI as distinct, but we would like to go in the direction of humans and AI, and it is seems to be more natural in if we see the direction in which the humanity is going towards, because there doesn't seem to be any single factor which distinguishes them or is a barrier between them to keep them separate for uh, in, for the next 50 years.
Okay, so
Uh,
just to clarify and confirm, you believe that the technology AROC has can be improved by the integration of humans and AIs. There is even more room for improvements.
Yes, I think because when treated independently, so if we employ humans independently and if we employ artificial intelligence independently, we would come up with results that are inherently unique to both of them. But when we combine both of them, then we end up with interactions that can only be uniquely identified when we integrate both of them.
Okay, thank you. Can I ask the same question to the second team as well?
Yes, sir. Timokai?
Yes, okay. I'm gonna start answering your question, and I really agree with your question. But the thing is that we developed all our policies based on the premise that the AI section is already highly developed in this country, as written in the scenario, and its popularity and popular is very high, that everyone is interested in AI related jobs. So the reason why we mentioned a lot of non-AI related fields is because to reduce the competition and remind people that AI related jobs is not the everything. Of course, Iraq is already very advanced country in the field of AI, and we thought that based on the scenario, there is no other country to catch up with Iraq in this state. However, it was also clear that Iraq was not a happy country. Most apparently, the non-working people could be very bored of their everyday life. So we wanted to give the non-working people the opportunity to feel more satisfied with their livings. So it is like to say not to say that oh okay, that was my answer. Thank you.
So you're betting on the fact that although AI-based industry may be the most efficient one, people will not be happy. Therefore, they are incentivized to move away from it.
Yes. The scenario mentioned that only the 5% of people
Yeah.
are working in the field of AI. So we wanted to think of the happiness of 90% of the other people. Thank you.
Thank you. Yep. We seem to have one question from each team.
Yes, so I will be taking a question from AI Neo, Azamat.
So my question is about implementation number 3 of policy 6, which says prohibit advertisements that idolize only the AI industry and make light of other industries. So my question is, it's a long one. What is considered quote unquote advertising? Because usually educational courses like actually advertise certain fields. And for example, now AI, big data, and etc. are idolized because of news and high sellers and job postings. So my question is, are those like news job postings are considered as advertising? And if so, and the policy is supposed to affect the market, then in combination with higher taxes, this policies creates an unfavorable environment for AI-related businesses. So what kind of incentive you provide for those businesses for them to actually stay in Iraq and not to replace their headquarters somewhere else? Thank you.
Timukai, do you want to take the question?
So your may I ask, your question was regarding policy 6 PSAs or policy regarding tax issues. Could you clarify that again?
So at first is just I wanted to you to clarify what is meant by advertising in the policy 6, and in case if it means usual advertising which can only be done by educational courses, okay, that's fine. But if in case it means like a lot of things like the job postings, the news, and other like tangent things that can increase the popularity of AI, if they actually like lay to the advertising, then it creates a very unfavorable environment for the companies, for the businesses, and they might think that they won't like to relocate somewhere else because in Iraq there are higher taxes, and also like in general you are prohibiting any proposition of AI features. Yeah.
May I answer that question?
Yeah, sure.
First of all, our aim of the PSA is to not kill the AI industry, but also promote other industries such as maybe humanity values or other areas that can be researched. So our aim of the PSA is to make the people think that they can have and dream other things, and they not solely have to concentrate on AI industry to become successful in life. So, and the way we're trying to achieve that is by, we mentioned it, but by implementing posters and TV commercials and maybe public arts in public places. So and also we said that we hope to promote AI in some other ways, but also hope to promote in other industries in other ways. So in conclusion, we're not trying to uh, we're not trying to lower the value of AI industry. So we are not really concerned about industries going to foreign countries or that kind of issues. Thank you.
Thank you for the answer. I will now be taking a question from Shihon from Team Okai.
Thank you. There seem to be many contradictory policies. So our team would like you to clarify your position. In Policy 7, you argued that we should combine man and AI to create the ultimate intelligence. But on the other hand, Policy 8 calls for limiting AI's participation in several fields and occupations. So, isn't that contradictory to the previous statement?
If I would like to answer your question, like basically we're not trying to be actually contradictory. We already basically divided our solutions into long-term and short-term strategies. So what we're trying to address is integration of humans and AI. Even in 2071, we can't say that that'll occur in a rush. That'll definitely be a long-term strategy. We have to wait for a long time for that. But in the meantime, we have to solve the economy, because right now we are having a social crisis, an economic crisis, where we are basically dealing with a very large portion of the population who is dissatisfied with the current system. So we have to satisfy them first before we go further into like integration or considering the betterment of AI. As we basically promote first man, then AI, and then we promote integration. That is our main scheme. So considering a breakdown into the time scale, we won't really say that it's contradictory. We'll really say it's a step-by-step approach to a very complex problem.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the great question. Now, do the professors have any question at this point that they would like to ask?
Maybe I can add some comments and questions. First of all, been very impressed by your great preparation and then discussion, and especially for the Anio group. So you guys are not in Korea, so it seems you guys are from everywhere. Rafsan, where are you at now?
I'm from Bangladesh.
Okay, and what other members?
Anmol is from India, and Washik is also from Bangladesh, and
Right.
Abdurrahman is from Kazakhstan, and Azamat is also from Kazakhstan.
Okay, yeah. Thank you very much for your participation and then collaboration together. So maybe my kind of fundamental question is about the nature of fundamental nature of policy. So policy is not necessarily one-way action. So it's a very dynamic and complex and continuous evolving mechanism between the government and citizens. But it seems like both of two teams actually, your perspective on the policy making is quite supply driven, like government driven. So where's the citizens? For example, like number 5, op units of grouping systems in ANIO. So systematically grouping people. Actually, I mean, tested, for IQ and EQ and AQ test, it sounds actually a little bit more like psychological Big Brother. So where's the privacy? And why, what kind of incentives for citizens to participate in the system? And also PSA, public service advertisement, Acro website from Okai team. It's a great idea. And then I just visited your website. Great effort. but it seems like more sharing information and providing information from government. But where is the feedback mechanism? Where is the participation from the users and citizens? Where is the room for demanding new policy? What's the kind of ecosystem for making better policy, etc.? So that might be my one of the questions for two teams. And also, maybe one by one. So maybe, yeah. So let's stop here and
Thank you,
then.
Professor, for the valuable question. Which
Okay.
team wants to go first? Any preferences?
If it's okay, can I go first?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so basically we're now going to talk about like people. So for example, I want to address the professor's concern about privacy in the OUs first. So basically for example, the psychology tests of IQ, EQ, well, these are basically like let's say these are going to be classified information. We always have these like regular experiments are performed where classified medical information is maintained and stored by research teams. So this is not going to be certainly anything new. It's going to be all the information that we're going to obtain is going to be basically going to stay private. And the purpose of this is not really manipulation. What we're basically trying to do when we're making op units, we're trying to group people who are similar minded. And if we find people who are conflicted with each other, then op units won't really last, especially since op units are designed to extend towards the end of someone's career life. So basically, um, by grouping people here, we're essentially increasing socialization. We're going to see interaction within the OU. We're going to see interactions between OUs. And this is going to be a more social and more interactive thing that the public will actually enjoy, which we won't really see in the working population currently now, because everyone's trying to be isolated and working individually and staying isolated from the non-working population. Furthermore, the public actually has a really big
Yeah, I
importance.
know you have 30 seconds.
Yeah. So the public has really good, big importance in regulating public decisions. For example, we have the IEF and the meaning of humans, so they can easily convey their opinions and their ideas and what they want with the country to these organizations, so that the government can take them into consideration for the betterment of the country.
Thank you, Neil. Okay.
May I answer the question?
Yeah, sure, sure. Go ahead.
Okay. First, our team made a small window for our public's forces. As you saw in the PPT slides, you saw that in the web page our public can upload our our private questions or feedbacks. So the government can see the feedbacks and apply directly. And secondly, I think the public's feedback can apply not only with policies, but also by the frame of the government. And one party should make make the policies that public wants, and by votings, there but there's some feedback sessions with votings, because public votes the parties that gives some policies that public wants. So by these mechanisms, we can get some feedbacks from public. Thank you.
Thank you. Professor, would you like to ask your second question?
Sure. Just a follow-up questions, maybe quickly. Okay. So, right. So, Rafsan, so on your team. So a great answer. you also emphasize the collaboration with the other countries, sort of international collaboration. So so that's why it's really important, as a government, as a mediator, if there is a kind of conflicting negotiation, interpretation on the certain policy um, between your citizens and international level, like other countries, how you can actually solve this kind of conflict between the stakeholders. At the same time, Sang-ho, right, from Okai, you greatly answered about there is a kind of the feedback mechanism for receiving some comments from citizens, but you have to unpack the black box of citizens, right? So there are so many different stakeholders and so many different agencies and civil society organization, academia and forums and private sector. They're all different. How you can actually um, reconcile them, and how you can actually promote national collaboration, in your institutional level, from the government side.
Thank you, Professor. Kindly keep your responses to the point, because everyone saw all your policies. So try to answer the professor's question.
Shall I answer first?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so if I got the question correctly, is it about resolving the problems that might be encountered when collaborating with other countries?
Yep.
Okay, so we have proposed the introduction of an international AI license, and the way we have implemented is that uh, by enabling AROC or any other country to gather information gained from implementing those technology, they can improve the life of their own citizens by um, seeing what worked in other countries and then learning from those environments and implement it in their own countries. Uh, since this interaction helps both of the parties, so let's say there are some underdeveloped countries that are much behind AROC in terms of artificial intelligence prowess, then they would borrow certain key aspects of technology that they deem would be most helpful to their own country, and then utilize those technologies to improve the uh, as certain aspects of their own country, return that information which they gained by solving problems using that technology to AROC, and then it is a self-sustaining system. So we have created a cycle of sorts without which it would not work. So let's say if there is a country that does not want to cooperate with this, then they would not only leave out on the technology that they could have gained access to. Since other countries would collaborate with them in gaining those technologies, they would be somehow forced to agree with that because they would be left out otherwise without those technologies. And also, they would lose out the
Thank you
information.
for the answer. If you want to summarize, you have 15 to 30 seconds.
So uh, by not cooperating, they not only lose out on using the technology, but also they lose out on gaining information which can be derived from implementing those technologies. So if they do not cooperate, then they remain incompetitive as compared to other countries,
Thank
which
you.
gives them an incentive to do so.
Okay, now it's your turn to take the floor.
Okay, we admit that the professor's feedback was a very important one. For a country to develop people's idea is the most crucial. We admit that there was no concrete institute to gather people's idea, as contrary to the fact that we have made several institutes. However, to answer your question, the backups for the given problem of us was like this. The problem that we focused on was that if the education is not executed well, for example, 55 of the people are not having jobs and they are not interested in getting education. If the situation like that is occurring, people might lose their opinions continuously. To prevent this kind of serious situations, we came up with policies such as enforcing the education. We believe that by giving more educations and giving more people the opportunity to express their feelings or their interests, we thought that people can grow their idea and make out their voice more loudly. By this way, we tried our best to educate people and receive their idea and develop the country. Thank you.
Thank you. Professor, does that answer, both of the answers satisfy?
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, I can ask another questions later. Thank you.
Okay. Now, I think we went a bit over time on the Q&A session, and we still have some questions for both of the teams. So we will, the next session will be the conclusion one, in which you guys will be given 5 minutes to conclude your debate. But what I would like you guys to focus on is the unaddressed problems rather than just reiterating what you presented in the proposal, okay? So for example, for Team AI Neo, do address how do you plan to prevent the student dropout rate? And also, do you guys keep the universal basic income system same, right? The same for Team Okai, you have the same basic income, and then you want to promote startups. So it would be financially burdensome. And what problem does the ARCO, like the personalized robot, and also the job fair kind of solve? Because I think even in 2021, we have online and virtual job fairs. So now you guys have 5 minutes to conclude, and we will be starting in the reverse order. Okay, Team Ukai, you have 5 minutes.
Okay, before starting our conclusion, I might answer to the MC's question first. We made some backups for money problems by increasing tax from the upper classes. In that way, we believe that we can implement more important policies. And to answer the next question of the MC, in the early days, we will not change the policies because any radical change, especially in welfare, may cause strong antipathy from public. After the mitigation of polarization and diversification of industry, we will continuously reduce the scale. In a simple way, progressive tax policy was one way to earn funds from new policies. On the other hand, in the future, endeavors to diversify industrial structure would bear fruit and cause positive economic effects. And to conclude, 100 years ago, when machines like refrigerators, washing machines were developed, people were afraid that these machines are going to invade human jobs and threaten human beings. So the people destroyed the machines and strongly protested. This event was called Rodayat movement. However, did the refrigerators and washing machines have threatened us? No. Machines have replaced the jobs which had been done by servants, and thanks to the machines, people were enabled to enjoy more diverse and meaningful jobs. Of course, the upcoming developments can be threatening to the people. However, we strongly believe that we have to keep going on having enough discussion about the future. To be honest, when we first read the scenario, we thought the story was too extreme and too unrealistic. However, the more we came to think about it, the more we found out that this is the exact scenario that we are going to face if no enough discussions are made along with the technology's developments. In today's real world, artificial intelligence is growing at a tremendous speed. But frankly, is enough social discussion being made? Are public admitting this change and facing straight at the future? I'm sorry, but I don't think so. So in this context, we thought that having this conference was a very good opportunity to think about and prepare about the future. So it was honor of us to participate in this conference, and let's keep thinking and preparing about our future. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for the concluding remarks. Now we will go to Team AI Neo.
I would like to address the problem of dropout rates. So, with our policies, policy one, which is the meaning of human, and policy four, which is, policy five, OP unit system, both of them cater to opening up different avenues for students to take up instead of just title. So, students are not forced to go through the title track and apply for becoming artificial intelligence researchers. Instead, now they have an opportunity to pursue their own goals. So the meaning of human policy is to incentivize students by offering them opportunities so that they cultivate those values which are distinctly human, make separate jobs, or you can say fields out of those. And then once enough students are collected in those common pools, then that job could be independently accessed by humans. Hence, uh, once students are not incentivized completely to go for title, the enrollment rate would decrease, and hence the dropout rate would automatically decrease because students who are not interested in title would not apply in the first place and instead go for these alternate routes. Second, I would like to say that the goal of our policies in general is to, as Rafsan previously mentioned, that we have divided it into two strategies. First is the immediate response, and the second one is long-term response. With immediate response, we do not want to uh, completely replace humans, but we want to transition to the long-term response so that we can eventually integrate both of them. This would not occur without the complete understanding of humans first. So with policy 4, we are pushing pursuit of knowledge, which would and policy 6, integration of natural intelligence and artificial intelligence. Both of these policies combined help us understand more about human intelligence and make inroads into artificial intelligence combined. So when we compare both of them and then integrate them, uh, the result is the integration results in a new intelligent being which we have proposed, which can then function more efficiently and would have more capabilities than each of the artificial intelligence or humans combined. So I would like to finish off with the idea that we had proposed, the backup portal. So the main idea is that humans are physically fragile, and with any sort of compromise that might happen to these bodies, the information is lost and the intelligence too along with it. So our idea is to connect it with artificial intelligence systems, which would help ensure the integrity of information even if there is something uh, that physically affects the original owner. And this integration would eventually lead to a more sustainable economy rather than a one which is dependent on human versus AI. Thank you.
Thank you, Team AI Neo. Now, as we move towards the end of the debate, I would like to entertain any feedback or comments that the professors have for the two teams.
Would you go first?
Yes, sir. Go.
No, I was offering Professor Park to go first.
Okay. Right. Yeah, thank you very much for sharing very interesting and very sometimes provocative comments. So I think Professor Yu already raised one of the most important um, issue. It's like, um, is there any kind of ideological change in the future? So it's actually beyond the context of the scenario, but maybe for Anio, the group first, there was a discussion between MC and Eurogroup, like Robson and then Anmol. So uh, um, does technical innovation will increase the number of jobs? But why do we need more jobs? The jobs actually, it doesn't necessarily mean that the importance of the matter, because jobs with the dignity does matter. So what kind of ideology or fundamental thinking do we need to have for the future society in terms of job creation? So and also like AI citizenship, etc. Because there will be assumed that the future AI such as Sophia. I mean, maybe some of you guys already know that the Sophia already got the citizenship from Saudi Arabia, right? So will AI be granted citizenship on the international scale? And what if there is a kind of conflict between internationally agreed AI citizenship on the AI and then your own perspective on the AI? I mean, in Iraq. So it equally applied to all KAIST, the answer, like Hyunyang, remember? So from your presentation as well, there's kind of a categorization between the higher class and lower class. But what do you mean by higher class and lower class? What kind of criteria do we need to have in the future to define higher and middle class and lower class? Still, economically, we should do we have to need to use the same clarification and categorization for the future? So this kind of fundamental and what Professor you mentioned about ideological change is really important for your discussion. So that's kind of more comments for one of you guys already will be in the final. So maybe in the final discussion, maybe hopefully maybe you have a better answer. Thank you very much. I really enjoyed your presentations and discussion.
Okay, come to think of it, going after Professor Park was not a good idea because now. But I want to make sort of two comments. Given that being a professor means you can talk about nonsense and still get paid. First, I want you to remember that this is sort of connected to the previous points made by Professor Park. It's more of my personal wish for you to interact with technology going forward in your career. I want you to remember that we keep saying AI is taking people's job, but no, not really. All the way it is humans taking other humans' job. Okay, remember that. I think that's what's happening. AI is just a technology that's being used by other humans to basically get more efficient. And it is very easy to sort of get tricked into the belief that more efficiency is always the right thing, and maybe not. The very nature of human dignity is probably related to the fact that we like efficiency in some sense, but we also like to procrastinate, maybe. That there is a fundamental human value in not being efficient. I want you to remember that. Everyone is here because you worked hard, you value efficiency, you value merits and skills and everything. But fundamentally, humans are not only about those things. So I want you to remember that. And second, on a related note, I sensed in both teams' proposals that whenever we talk about AI and jobless future, we tend to emphasize that there is something inherently human in more learning. Knowledge is good for its own sake. Again, this may quickly become a cliche. Is it really? I mean, would you just study for your whole life researching on something, knowing that you will not get any job out of it? That's also another fundamental thing. And it's talking about these really big problems and things. It's so easy to just, I don't want to say that trick yourself, but it's very hard to steer away from the cliches. Knowledge is good for its own sake. Maybe not. So always try to suspect the big ideas, and then try to check whether you are really talking about the essence of things rather than just repeating what people says as the solution. Okay, sorry if I sounded like ranting a bit, but I think I want to repeat that I was very impressed by the preparations from both teams. these are just my sort of extra concerns that I want you to remember going forward when you think about these issues. Because what you think about these things will really matter. Okay, thank you.
Thank you both professors for your valuable insight and comments. So now we come towards the end of the session and I declare the debate officially closed. Good luck and hope to see you guys in the finals. Thank you.